In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. We have a very, very special name. Do you want to go by your actual name or your performer name?
I guess my performer name.
Do people know your real name?
Not a lot, no.
Oh, then we'll keep it performer then. Keep it a fucking mystery, baby. We have Zeda. Do you say Zeda or Zeda?
I say Zeda.
What do other people say? They call it Zeda?
They call it both.
And then your last name is Zhang?
Okay. It's supposed to be Zhang because that's a proper way, but no one can pronounce it, so I just kind of like Americanized it.
So you just call it Zhang?
I just call it Zeda Zhang.
You know, the weird thing is, I think like we're a little more progressive now. I'm pretty sure people could pronounce Zhang. Like, it's not very fucking difficult.
It's not. That's true. But then it kind of ruins my moniker.
Wait, what's your moniker?
Zeda Zhang brings the bang.
Okay. Well, you could be Zeda Zhang, get some dong. There you go. That's some new shit right there for you, baby. That's cool. I actually just met Zeda yesterday when we were training. You trained with Nick before?
Yes. Well, my friends, Yoshi, you know Yoshi.
Yeah.
He actually brought me over to the gym, and I met Nick and everyone else.
How did you meet Yoshi?
He found me on an article on Next Shark.
Oh, my buddy Benny does a Next Shark.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
That's
So they, okay. Yeah.
Like a small world. Yeah.
What a small world.
Yeah.
So they did an article about me for wrestling when I was in WWE and then when I was out in China and all that. So Yoshi saw me on there and then he followed me. And then it turns out we ended up having a bunch of mutual friends.
Oh,
and,
really?
My current stunt coach is friends with Yoshi, and they were on set together and train together sometimes. Yoko.
So I didn't know this until I fucking found out yesterday because I was just looking your shit up. I was like, okay, what the fuck does this girl do? You were the first female Asian American to be signed to the WWE. When did you get signed to the WWE?
2017.
Oh shit, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago.
How the fuck did that happen? Like, how did you even get into wrestling in the first place?
Okay, so what's crazy is I never thought I would end up in pro wrestling. I watched as a kid, and I thought the only way you would get in is if you were a Olympic wrestler, or at the very least, won state championships for college wrestling. And
Is that how are a lot of wrestlers in the WWE former actual wrestlers?
back in the day?
Because I know Kurt Angle was an Olympic medalist, which was a very
Yes.
interesting, way that he went. Yeah.
But now it's different. Now there's wrestling school, like pro wrestling schools where people just, that's all they train.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing, but I didn't even know that existed. And so I ended up going the MMA route. So I went and did MMA. I was like, oh, there's no chance for me. But I've always been interested in martial arts and grappling and like wrestling and the ground game. So I ended up doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which led to MMA. And through my MMA is how I ended up getting recruited. Got a chance to do a tryout for WWE and got through and bam, got signed.
What the fuck? How long did you do MMA for?
About 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
You just brushed by it like it was like a couple of fucking days. You did it for 10 fucking years?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, that's fucking... I don't even know if a lot of people even knew about MMA 10 years ago.
I know. I did it before it got popular, and I did jiu-jitsu before it got popular, and now everyone and their mom's doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like 10 years ago, I think honestly the person who blew up the sport the most was Conor McGregor. Like after McGregor came on the scene, everybody knew about MMA. Because, everybody knew about UFC and then Bellator was talked about here and there, but not a lot of people knew about like ONE FC and a lot of these other small promotions like Lights Out and stuff like that. But when Conor McGregor came on the scene, he just kind of put a lot of light on it. Because nobody was promoting MMA like the WWE does.
Exactly.
And then Conor McGregor kind of brought that WWE element to it, where there's that shit talking, there's this backstory that starts to develop, and then you see UFC's platform start to develop kind of like WWE, where they if you see all the promos for the UFC prior to like the whole Conor McGregor thing, and this is just my opinion, it wasn't like how it is now. There's this whole like good guy versus bad guy type of thing. Just like the WWE.
Yep.
Like recently there was Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. And Kamaru Usman was the good guy and then Colby Covington's the bad guy. And they started building it up in this type of weird way. But it really gets people to buy tickets.
I think so there's a little history with UFC and WWE. They kind of used to not like each other. But I think recently they have they're kind of okay with each other secretly. So they're kind of working together. I can't say they're really working together, but they're kind of cool with each other in certain ways. So I'm actually seeing a trend where all the UFC fighters and UFC is being more like WWE and WWE is being more like UFC.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In terms of like they're incorporating like real fight moves?
Yes, they're incorporating real fight moves. They're hiring people with MMA backgrounds. So right before me, I was the second MMA girl they hired. But the first one was actually my friend Daria Bernardo. She is from a Muay Thai background. She's actually out of here. Now she goes by Sonia Deville on TV. I don't know if she's on Raw or SmackDown. She switched between the two brands. But either way, we actually trained together. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, we trained together
in
real, in MMA.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say MMA, like wrestling.
Yeah.
So amateur wrestling. And her gym is Systems over in Hawthorne.
Okay.
And I used to train over at Black House MMA.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
dope.
So she actually came over and trained with me and my wrestling coach, Kenny Johnson. And I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get a girl to train with because I never have girls to train with. And we're training together all the time for like a month and then she disappears. I was like, what? Yeah. Where's my training partner? I finally get a girl and she disappears on me. Then 8 months later, I find out she's working for WWE as a pro wrestler and I see her during my tryout. And I was like, wow, what a crazy world. And so she's doing really well. And I realized now, back then with WWE, everyone has there's never going to be another Undertaker. People have real names now. Now they purposely have names where they got first name and last name. And it's to make them more real. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's no one else that's going to be named Undertaker anymore or anything too crazy. They're giving everyone normal names.
Why is that?
They want it to be more realistic. They don't want to go the cheesy, whatever route because they feel like everyone wants realism. So they want it as real as possible.
Really? But that was the shit. I love the names.
I know.
The Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Are you fucking kidding me? Why the fuck would you take that away? That's fucking insane. They found it better that people had real fucking names?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone has a first name and last name.
Well, nobody wants a fucking action figure of David So. You know what I mean? Nobody wants a fucking regular ass name. What the hell? I fell in love.
I think they would like that.
Razor Ramon, come on, man. Hulk Hogan. I loved all these fucking names. That's so weird. I would think that, I don't know the demographic or the age demographic for the WWE.
Well, it was PG and it was a family show. They targeted it like they would for Disney. They wanted you to bring your kids because that is merchandise sales. All of them want to buy all these action figures, but now they recently changed to PG-13 because of AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They're competing directly against each other. So AEW is pretty much like the WCW back in the day where they're fighting each other for the spot. So now because AEW is more PG-13, WWE had to switch it to PG-13. So now you're seeing people making out on TV. You're seeing zoom up on butt cheeks. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
I know.
I remember when I was a kid, every now and then there'd be some random nip slip or some shit, and they're like, "Fuck,"
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that was some random shit. You know what I mean? And I remember somebody who really popped off. I think even after she left WWE, Stacy Keibler. Yeah, she was huge, and then she moved on from that and did her own personal stuff too. But she was fucking pretty as shit. And then there was people like Sable. There was I love the WWF, man. People don't fucking know, man. I love that shit. And there was the girl that was always attached to the Hardy Boys. What was her name? She had red burgundy hair.
I'm not the person to ask because honestly, when I watched it, I was so young.
Yeah.
And then finally, And then I went into the MMA thing. So I had this huge gap before I got back into it. Honestly, I didn't get back into it until 2.5 months before my tryout.
That's fucking crazy.
And what's crazy is I honestly didn't know that it was... I didn't really know if it was a work or not until before my tryout.
Oh, really? What the fuck?
I know. No one believes me. So, I mean, I kind of... Okay. So, I watched it from 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And at 4 years old, even though I was born in the U.S., I didn't even know English yet. I didn't learn English.
What?
Yeah, because like my parents were busy. They were running a restaurant. I was being taken care of by my grandma.
Yeah.
And my grandma only spoke Mandarin. And she took care of me growing up, and she liked watching wrestling. So I watched it with her. She got me into it. So
what a weird thing for your grandma to watch.
I know.
That's so fucking odd. She's just like, oh yeah, fucking slam him already, man.
She was. She was like, yeah, hit him. Punch him in the face.
What the hell? That's intense.
It was crazy. Her favorite was Hulk Hogan. So she was all about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And I watched it and didn't learn English. I didn't start learning English until I was like 6. Even though I was born in the U.S. I had trouble like...
Were you in ESL then?
No, because I was born in the U.S., I was technically not considered foreign. So I wasn't required to take ESL.
What the hell?
Yeah. So I never took ESL. I never learned English properly. It was just from being around it, and slowly I picked it up.
Yeah.
But basically I watched it until I was like 12, and then when my grandma got Alzheimer's and started getting like really sick, I stopped watching it because it was like our thing.
Yeah.
So I completely stopped when she passed away when I was like 15, 16. Mm-hmm. And then in my, when you watch something as a kid, whatever you remembered it as, that's what you remember it as.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, I was like, oh, that's what wrestling is. It's a real sport.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is I watch pro wrestling and I even watch college wrestling at the same time. But I watch more pro wrestling. And the funny thing is I just thought the college wrestling didn't have a good budget. That's why they couldn't afford
You're so funny,
the pyro.
Dude. So you're like, dude, look at these bums over here.
Yeah, they
dude.
suck.
Look at their costumes, man. They only wear red and blue, and that's it. Bunch of losers, dude.
Losers don't have good lighting. They don't have nice
Where's the
outfits
fucking
and the
ring,
pyro?
dude? Nobody's
Where's the pyro? Like, what is wrong with them? They're not hardcore enough.
That's hilarious.
So I just thought that's the lower budget one. And so I was like more drawn over to WWF at the time, and even some WCW. We watched both. It's like back and forth. And then I got into MMA. I went and started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because it was the closest thing to wrestling. And I had an interest in wrestling. I wanted to do it growing up. I never had the confidence. I didn't come from a sports background. So I was like, oh, I can't do it. I don't believe I can do it. So I just never did until finally I go off to college. I'm in a really unsafe city. I went there really naive, came across some incidences where, I could have gotten gang raped, and it scared the hell out of me. And I'm just like,
what kind of incident? What do you mean?
So, I'm actually born and raised in Charlottesville, Virginia. Virginia was actually in 2010, it was rated the #1 best city to live in on USA Today. Oh, it was safe, the safest city to live in.
This podcast is brought to you by Purple, my friends. Have you had good sleep lately? Do you dread going home, turning off the lights, and sleeping on that rock of a piece of doo-doo you call a mattress? Well, that's because you don't have a Purple mattress, my friends, and I'm guessing, I'm betting that you're not having the best night's sleeps of your life. And if you do think that you are, just wait till you sleep on a Purple mattress. There's rocket science behind the development of what this mattress is made out of. It's firm and soft at the same time, and it'll feel like nothing you have ever felt before. I have had my mattress for a while now. I love it. It's the best thing that I have, and it's the thing that I look forward to before I go to sleep. And if you have not experienced good sleep, my friends, what are you waiting for? Get on a Purple mattress, man. It's literally so important for you to find something that you could sleep really well on. Sleep is super important to you. I didn't know that. I didn't know that the type of bed that I had before was keeping me up. I just thought that everybody's bed just went to crap after a while. But let me tell you something. I was corrected. Purple mattress has saved my body and my sleep. So check this out. You're going to love Purple. And right now, my listeners will get a free Purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. That's in addition to the great free gifts they're offering site-wide. Just text BRAIN to 84-888. The only way to get this free pillow is to text to BRAIN 84888. Once again, text BRAIN to 84-888. That's BRAIN, BRAIN, to 84888.
And then I moved to Richmond, Virginia, rated #1 murder city for like 4 years in a row.
Oh, shit.
From like the late 90s to 2000s. And when I went there for college at VCU, it was 2007 and it was still ranked #4. And Richmond is one of those cities where it's small, but there's a lot of people. So everything's tight vicinity and you run into shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's a shooting, a stabbing, a rape, whatever, all like down the street from you. So I went there thinking like, oh, it's fine. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm in a big city. Why would they target me out of all the people that's here? So I freaking go there. And my first Halloween, my friend, this was before like GPS. And and it was like before you got that on your phone. So my first Halloween, my friend's giving me directions on the phone and she goes, oh yeah, just drive here and stuff. And I was like, hey, am I supposed to take a left or right? And she wasn't sure. So she goes, stay there. I'm gonna get my friend to come get you. But I was already close by, like maybe 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, this guy pulls up and he waves his hand out the window, like the sunroof window. He's like, follow me. And I just stuck my head out. I was like, did I just speak to you on the phone? I didn't mention anything about party. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, the party's here. Follow me. And I was like, okay, this is the guy. I think this is the guy.
Yeah.
He pulls up and then I see another car behind him with 4 guys in that car. I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just some other car. So I pull up. I end up trapped between the 2 cars. They lead me down some dark alley and then they park their car and turned all the lights off. Oh. And I'm sitting there like, okay, is this the place? And I'm like trying to figure it out. And I was so naive at the time. I didn't even think anything of it. So, and I was like, is this where it's at? I call my friend. I'm like, hey, I think I'm here. I think I'm in the back. Like, where are you? And she keeps looking for me. And after like what felt like 5 minutes, I don't even know how long it was, but it felt like 5 full minutes when she was just like, I don't see you. Like, where are you? And I started getting this awkward feeling like something was wrong. And I remember looking at my rear view mirror and it was so scary because I just see the 4 dudes in the back. They're all slouched, like just waiting. And the guy in the car in front, he got out and he's standing 3 feet away from me. I had my door open, my window rolled down and everything. Yeah. And I was just like, is this where the party's at? And he lied to me. He's like, yes, where the party's at. And I'm just like still waiting on my friend. I don't know what to say. I got this like weird feeling in my stomach, but I didn't know how to get out the situation. Yeah. And I think it didn't click in my head yet. I just felt like something was weird. But yeah, nothing clicked in my head yet until my friend, I asked him 3 times. I was like, is this where the party's at? And after the 3rd time, she heard his voice and she goes, who's that? As soon as she said, who's that? Like, I realized this isn't the guy. And I started freaking out. I lost my cool. And I was like, what the hell? What the fuck is this? Like, not the guy you told me that's going to come get me. And he's standing right there. So of course he heard me. Mm-hmm. And then he gets aggressive. He gets all up on my window and he goes, what? You don't believe me? You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, go back where you came from. And I was so lucky because this alleyway was long and narrow. It only fit 1 car. It was like it only fit 1 car, but it just so happened that where I parked, the building kind of dented in. It was like a shorter building. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like this. Okay. And where I was, it just so happened that also the car behind me was back just far enough where I could back out and do this and get out. Yeah. I guess. And I just shut the door and went. And I was so lucky because he could have easily pulled me out. There's 4 dudes back there just waiting for shit to happen. And
they were going to rape you, dude.
Dude, I know they would have.
100%, they were going to rape you.
Because it keeps happening. Like, it almost happened to my friend. It's happened to my friend. Like, there's been lots of stuff that happens in Richmond all the time. Because when I was there, it's an open campus. So they would send us text messages whenever there's stuff going on. And literally every single weekend, rape here, stabbing here on this street, on this street.
Oh my God.
It was every fucking weekend. It got to a point where it was just so normal. And they even got a thing, like this was a thing at my school where if you got robbed or stabbed or hurt anything on campus, the school would pay for your tuition.
What the fuck?
It was an actual
That's how
thing.
much that shit happened?
Yep. Me and my friend out there, we got friends that got held up at gunpoint a bunch of times. One that got stabbed. Like, there's so many things.
They were doing that because they didn't want people to find out, and then they would lose like attendance in their college because nobody would come.
Yeah, and then it got to a point where students were trying to shoot themselves in the foot. And
I would have.
They're like, kick me to get my free.
I would have showed up the next day, scruffed at my hair. It's like, listen, I've been raped. And they're like, listen, dude, nobody raped you. You're like 6'1", like 300 pounds. Who the fuck raped you? I was like, I'll tell you who did. It was a bunch of women. A bunch of women wanted my lumps, and they
just took it.
They titty fucked me. That's what happened. They're like, get the fuck out of here, dude. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what got you to start doing jujitsu.
Yeah. So this scared me so much where I'm like, I need to do something to defend myself.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take martial arts, but I didn't know what to take. I've always been interested because I used to watch all these kung fu movies and shit when I was a kid because I had no friends. So I was just home all day like, I need to fight. And I got bullied a lot. I got bullied my whole life. Coming from the East Coast, I was like the one Asian in my town pretty much. And so growing up, I always was kind of attracted to that. And then the guy I was dating at the time, he was interested in watching UFC. And he was always interested in the ground game. So we joined together. But I was dating him before I moved off to college. And so he's 2.5 hours away from where I live. And he wouldn't be able to come up very often. But we joined together. And for the 2 months, we only went twice. Like, I wasn't that serious into it. And I was still very shy. I grew up very shy and just no confidence. So I was scared to go in there without him. I would never go to training unless he was there with me. And then shortly after, his ass broke up with me.
Of course.
And I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was fucking pissed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to kick his ass the next time I see him. So I went and trained my ass off.
So you could beat up a boy? That's
damn
fucking
right.
Crazy, dude.
I was pissed. I'm like, oh yeah? He's going to break up my ass. I'm going to train so hard. I'm going to kick his ass when I see him next. So I ended up training so hard. I got the attentions of all my coaches. And then they ended up taking me under their wing, training me, and getting me to do my first tournament. And when I won that tournament, it was life-changing. It changed my life and made me view things differently. I had full confidence in myself. And then I did that. Then I ended up getting tricked into my first MMA fight.
How do you get tricked into an MMA fight? How the fuck does that work out, dude? There's not a single person that could trick me into going to an MMA fight. I'd be like, this is not happening, dude.
They'll be like, hey.
So you just saw a cage and you're like, well, this looks fun.
Like it's a comedy club in the cage, you know? You just come on in, tell some jokes.
Somebody start punching you in the face. You're like, what's going on? I was like, oh, am I doing that bad? Are my jokes bombing that bad? This person's punching me in the face. Like,
but like, it's crazy because, I was doing jiu-jitsu, but honestly, the first gym I went to, it was not exactly the best gym.
Why?
Because it was one of those gyms that they just taught you just enough to get you to like blue belt level, and then they don't want you to improve anymore. Because a lot of people, it was one of the first gyms around that started there, and it used to be super legit. But what happened was all the legit people that got really good, they branched off and opened up their own gyms. And became competition. So the owner was like, oh, you can't be teaching these people real jiu-jitsu because they're going to open up their own gym and become our competition. So they started teaching like bullshit jiu-jitsu and just teaching you just good enough to fight white belts. And anything more, you're kind of like, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And so when I realized level of skills that's there, I ended up leaving. And they also like tricked me and like lied to me, and I was stuck on this contract. But luckily at this point, I had people taking me under their wings because they saw that I was very like into it and really.
Who are you training under?
This place called World Class Martial Arts, and it was under. Well, there was this Brazilian guy named Roberto Neri. I mean, I don't have anything. I can't really say anything bad about him. He wanted to. It was because of the owner. The owner told him to not teach people real jiu-jitsu. And that guy ended up leaving because he thought it was wrong to do that. So he told them, you can't teach them good jiu-jitsu. You got to teach them up to blue belt level. So because of that, I was like, all right, I need to leave this place. So I left. I ended up going and following this guy that was teaching at another gym. It was an MMA gym, but he taught jiu-jitsu. So I ended up following him to his gym and started training there. And because I was already paying for it, I'm like, I might as well train in everything. But I really didn't care about anything else. Everything was just more so for cardio and working out. But I only cared about jiu-jitsu. But my MMA coach, because the owner was also the MMA coach, he would come up to me every single day and be like, you should fight. You should fight. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to fight MMA. I was like, no. I keep telling him no. And he was on my ass like a month and a half, nonstop every single day, telling me I need to fight. And finally, I got really annoyed one day. And I was just like, I'm just going to tell him, yeah, maybe just get him off my back. So one day I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll think about it. And then the next day he comes to me and he goes, oh, hey, there's a fight coming up in 3 weeks. And I was just like, okay, first of all, 3 weeks is no time for a fight. And he goes, oh, no pressure. You just train really hard for 2 weeks. And if you're not feeling up to it, you don't have to do it. You can back out anytime. I was like, okay. So I'm training. I'm going hard for a week and a half. A week and a half into it, I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have this fight. And the girl I had to fight, man, she had like 3 years of striking experience.
Oh, shit.
And I don't have any striking. I'm just all jiu-jitsu. And I didn't even know wrestling at this time. I only knew jiu-jitsu, like traditional ground jiu-jitsu. I didn't even really know how to do takedowns. Like, the jiu-jitsu I started with was like the traditional play off your back defensive jiu-jitsu. Definitely not fit for MMA style where you're supposed to be on top. So I'm just like, hell no, I don't even know how to get this damn girl down. So within this time, I'm like trying to learn how to strike. And all I knew was jab, cross, elbow, knee. And like, that's all I knew. And then I'm telling him, I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell my coach I'm not going to do this. I go up to him, I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? He's like, oh yeah, I need to talk to you too. So they wrote an article about you in the newspaper and the magazines for your fight next in blah blah on this date. And I was just like, I was just thinking, well, fuck, now I can't back out. Like, they just wrote a whole damn article. Now I'm like forced to fight. So then my dumbass, because I don't come from a sports background. I was a shy art girl, nerdy, stayed at home, had no friends type of girl. And now I'm about to take a damn MMA fight and I have no sports background. And I don't know like how to properly cut weight. I don't know how to properly lift. I knew how to lift, but I don't know like
the science behind it, and
the science. And so just because I heard other people talking, they're like, oh yeah, because the girl, I had to fight up a weight class. At the time, I walked around like at 118 to 121 pounds. So I should be fighting at 115. But even then, that is really light. If that's my walk around weight, that's not much to cut. And so the weird thing with Virginia and the East Coast and even Washington, D.C., because I fought in Washington, D.C., it was pro rules, even though it wasn't pro, but the rules were pro. So the weigh-ins are the night before. That means people are cutting a bunch of weight before they fight. So because I'm having a fight at 125, I have to go up a weight class. People were like, oh yeah, just eat a bunch and then you'll gain muscle.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. And especially 3 weeks, that is no time.
So you're fighting super underweight then.
Yeah, but the problem with me and my body is that I can gain weight easy. But the problem is I didn't gain good weight. I just got fat. I just freaking I went from what was I at the time? I was like 121, 122. I was at 121, 122. And within 3 weeks, I went up to 132.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I gained 10 pounds. And then I had to cut down to 126 because it's like 125, but 1 pound limit. So I had to cut down to 126 and I didn't know how to at all because I've never cut weight. I don't have any science behind it. And back then, this was like 2009.
You got to cut that water weight, baby.
I didn't know how to. And it just so happens that my weigh-ins that day, I was on my damn period.
Oh, shit, you bloated.
Dude, I was bloated. I couldn't lose any water. I didn't eat or drink for 4 days. I could have died.
Damn.
I don't know how I was able to get through that. This was over the summer. This was July 1st, my birthday. On my birthday, I had to weigh in on my damn cut weight on my birthday to weigh in because my fight was July 2nd. And we're driving up to DC from Virginia and it was a 5.5 hour traffic. And that year was a record breaking heat wave that summer.
God
it was 104 degrees. We're in this fucking car and all the windows are rolled up. We're blasting heat, wearing sweatpants and
trying to get you to cut that fucking weight.
Cutting and everyone in there dips. They dips and spit.
Yeah.
Get out any water. But I don't dip. I don't do tobacco. So I had to suck on Jolly Ranchers all day and spit. And my tongue is like bleeding from sucking on Jolly Ranchers all day.
Wow.
And I'm already lacking in water. And my coach made me drink 2 tubs of Epsom salt. And because I hadn't eaten for 4 days, nothing came out. Because he was trying to get me a diarrhea.
Yeah.
But nothing came out. So it just stayed in my body. And all that salt staying in my body probably was not good because then I couldn't sweat anything out.
Yeah.
So when I was cutting weight, dude, I was legit in the sauna all day with 2 layers of hoodies, with 2 towels wrapped underneath and a sweat wrap band and 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of pants, jump roping, burpees, fucking like knee touches nonstop in there. Working out, trying to sweat it out to the point where my body wouldn't even sweat anymore, where I had to sleep in a sauna suit. I slept in the sauna suit all night because I didn't make weight. I was only 0.6 pounds over. I was only 0.6 pounds over.
You really couldn't cut because that's pretty intense. Because I think for me, I'm a pretty big guy, so like if I wanted to cut like 5 pounds in a day, I could do it. Like I could just literally not eat, sweat, run like 10 miles in a fucking sauna suit, and then I'll cut that 5 pounds like that. Yeah.
I think the most I can cut in a day, maybe like 2 pounds. But no, my body just does not. I can't.
I mean, it's hard because when you were probably doing it, you're doing it with the people that you're doing it with. These people aren't really well versed in how like the body works.
Yeah.
So there's there's people in the UFC now when they get their money, they get their paychecks, they have a whole team around them, and this team really understands nutrition. They understand dieting. They understand how to cut weight. There's I forgot who it was, but there's this guy that's very, very good at cutting weight. He's like this specialist, but he gets people to cut weight like nothing. Not nothing, but he understands the science behind it and how like the body retains water and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so I'm pretty sure you didn't have that, and so they're just trying to get you to sweat. That's why he just had you eat Epsom salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was also drinking clay. I was drinking white bentonite, whatever clay, because there's this one thing it's supposed to take out. It's supposed to trap any type of stuff inside and poop it out. But the problem is I had no thing to help push it out. So it was just sitting in there.
Yeah.
And plus back then, they don't know about girls fighting. There was no girls fighting. So there was no science behind how a girl would cut weight, especially during her period.
Oh, yeah.
So there was all those factors involved and hormones and everything else. I'm just having the toughest time. And
did she take the fight even though you were
she did.
Okay.
Because so I asked her, I was like, hey, so as a girl, my dumb ass, I went to my opponent and her coach. I was like, hey, so as a girl, I'm on my period. I'm only 0.6 pounds over. Is it cool if we fight at a catch weight? And of course her coach is like, nope, you got to cut the weight to get me weaker.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up, at that time, I was only 3 days of no food, no water, which is still a lot. So I ended up having cut weight up to 2 hours before my fight.
Oh, shit.
To the next day. Didn't freaking eat anything. And finally I make weight and we end up fighting. And dude, it was the craziest experience of my life. Like, I felt like I was in a movie because I forgot what movie it was. There was that one movie with Jet Li. Jet Li, where right before every fight scene, everything goes into tunnel vision and everything's slow-mo. And I remember watching that movie. I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. That doesn't happen when you fight. Dude, it legit fucking happens. Like, to the T. It looked like it was in a movie. I don't even know how I won that fight because skill-wise, she was better than me. Like, weight-wise, like everything, she's supposed to win the fight. But because of, I was just pissed at the fact, I'm not going to lose because I did not cut weight and come all the way up here, didn't eat or drink water for 4 days to come up here to lose a damn fight.
How did you win the fight?
3 rounds of unanimous decision.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it was like 30-27, 30-27, 30-27.
Oh, you just outscored her.
Yeah. So I stood up.
Or stand up.
I didn't even get any takedowns because I didn't even know wrestling. I learned all my striking and wrestling in 3 weeks.
Oh, shit.
So I couldn't take her down. And the problem was she knew I was a ground girl. She knew I was a jiu-jitsu girl. So she stuffed all my takedowns.
Oh.
And so I never got her to the ground. And I ended up having to stand with her all 3 rounds. And the only...
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I don't even know how I did it. I think it was the adrenaline because the adrenaline got me so focused to the point where I saw all her punches coming 8 seconds before it happened. It felt like 8 seconds because I remember there was one point where I elbowed her. No, I punched her. I jabbed her in the face and I broke her nose and she was bleeding. And when she was bleeding, I felt bad. I actually felt bad. I thought to myself, I was like, damn, her nose is broken. I'm like, maybe I should let her punch me. I feel really bad.
I don't have any of that shit. I'm like, once they're punched in the face, it's like, you should have kept your hands up.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, because of my first fight, I felt bad. Like, I'm not I never decided to get into fighting. I wanted it as self-defense. Like, I'm not a...
I can't believe you got peer pressure into fighting. No, there's no such thing as peer pressure for me. If they said they put my fucking name on the newspaper, I'm like, well, I guess everybody just wasted a bunch of fucking ink because I'm not showing up, baby. And I would just move on from it. That's fucking crazy. I can't get peer pressure in that shit. Especially now, just because well, you know what, to be honest with you, like I've been to a few smokers before, and it's kind of a toss-up because some people are dope and some people are just really fucking bad.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of luck. It's like, who are you going to get to fight in this round, right? Because there's even like the Muay Thai point system shit, right? It's
exactly.
Like I've you met Alex, right? Our buddy Alex. Alex did a PKB match, and I've seen PKBs where it's supposed to be an amateur point system thing, right? So you're not supposed to throw out like full clip, and they do it based on points. If it gets too crazy, they kind of break it up and split it up. That shit was not the case for Alex's. It was a PKB thing, but they were throwing full fucking clip, and then there was the ref didn't step in or stop it at all. So I was like, oh man, this is all a fucking wash. Like, you never know what's gonna fucking happen, because when I saw Alex's match, I was like, damn, dude, this is just a full-on amateur match, dude. This is not a PKB match, because they just were just throwing 100%. It was fucking crazy. So I feel like nowadays, like it's so hard, because like you just don't know if you're gonna get the guy that trains 6 times a week, or you're gonna get the guy that trains like a couple and thinks he's a fighter. So you might
it's like that, because I know usually it makes the promotion look bad if the matchmaking is not somewhat close.
Well, PKBs are just burners, so they're not.
Oh, okay,
there's no like promotion. It's not like a lights out type of thing, or it's not like one of those like small small like UFC MMA fighting rings. Like, this is like smokers, like where people will just get together and fight. PKB is I'm not sure how they're sanctioned, but there is a ref there. It's an open mat space, so it's not within a ring. So this is like Muay Thai point system shit. And so they have headgear, they have shin guards or whatever, because it's still an amateur match, but they do it based on points, and you're not supposed to get knocked out. I think like if you knock the person out, you lose.
See, I think, yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird. But I understand also, because I think it's different when they add the element of protection. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have headgear and anything to protect you, then it should be matched up more evenly. Yeah. At least. Because if you have something for protection, because Virginia, it was so not regulated. Same with DC and the East Coast during that time. It was all pro rolls. I could elbow, I could knee to the face. Everything was allowed.
Oh, you're amateur?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Everything was allowed with no protection. Yeah. We didn't have anything. No shin pads, nothing.
Yikes.
Yeah, like I look back on it, I'm like, that's stupid. Like
how many fights did you do after that?
3. So I had 4 total.
Damn, so you just kept continuing. I would have stopped. I'm like, I won. I'm good. If I win one match, I'm done.
Well, I ended up liking it, and I ended up wanting to do it as a career.
Oh, wow.
So I like really seriously wanted to pursue it.
Have you ever lost?
No.
Oh, you never lost, so you just kept winning.
Yeah, I ended up winning 4 fights for MMA, and then for my jiu-jitsu, I had 18 matches, and I won 16 out of the 18.
That's fucking crazy. But but when we were hanging out, you have so many fucking injuries now, and that's and that's not even from the fighting. That's from fucking pro wrestling.
Well, I think the reason why I'm so prone to injury now is because of my overtraining in MMA. Because I used to train ridiculous, like I'm not even exaggerating, 15 and a half hours was my most a day.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but my average was 8 hours a day of straight training. And I did that for years. And I never stretched, never did rehab.
That's for sure why you got hurt, though.
Yeah, because my body.
I mean, there's this huge like science behind. I mean, that's what I'm saying, like how much like fight science has evolved. Like one of the guys that I love following is kind of Firas Zahabi. Like Firas Zahabi is GSP's coach, right?
Yeah.
And he always talks about people who they don't really optimize their training, and it's that old fashioned thing of just going ham.
Yep, like, that's what was brought up on. It was stupid.
8 to 15 hours a day, no rest, not thinking about nutrition, stretching, flexibility, mobility, like functional fitness. And so, like what I love about like what Firas talks about, he talks about like a lot of like optimized training. So when you should train, how you should train. You know, you're not supposed to go ham like 24 fucking 7. There's like a certain amount of hours that you should train, and you should be training at about like 50 to 60%. You know, if you're pushing weights, you shouldn't be going at your max every day. You know, you basically, you overload your nervous system. There's all this like science behind it that's developed, and it's because people like you started this way, and then people get fucked up. That's crazy. It
sucks because back then it was that like tough guy mentality. Because during my first fight, I had already torn my ACL. My ACL tore before that, and I fought my first fight on a torn ACL, and my knee popped up during my fight, and I had to pop it back in during the fight.
Fuck.
Yeah, and then my second fight, I tore my shoulder. My shoulder was falling out, and I had to fight with a shoulder out of socket and just keep it packed in. So it was just like stupid stuff. It's like,
was it your jab or was it your cross?
It was my jab shoulder.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and the thing is, I always lead with the jab and stuff. So. Yeah. I mean, it was super fucked up. But
how did you win that fight without one of your arms?
I ended up getting rear naked choke. I submitted the goal.
Shit.
Yeah. So that one, by that time, I learned some wrestling a little bit more, and I knew how to take people down. But my first fight, just way too new. Didn't know anything, and. Yeah, I was stubborn. I'm stubborn, and I think the way I won that fight was because she punched me thinking I would go down, but I just keep coming forward. I just took the punch and I just kept going. I was just like, fuck this shit. Yeah. This bitch is not gonna like I remember when she hit me, I didn't even feel pain because of adrenaline, but I heard the thud of my skull.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I heard my skull go doom. And I was like, this bitch just hit me.
Yeah.
Because when I went in, it was so weird because I seen people fight, and every time before they fight, they hype themselves up. It's like, yeah, and they're just like, oh, and they're coming out, and I felt nothing. Yeah. I felt nothing. My coaches were actually concerned, and they forced me to go and warm up and do something and get hype, but I didn't feel hype. I just walked out all normal, and I was just chilling. I walked in the cage. I was like, all right, I'm waiting for me to feel hype. I don't feel anything. The door closes. I was like, well, all right, we're in here now. Ding, ding, ding. And I still feel nothing. She runs and charges at me and punches me in the head. And then that's when everything came in. I was like, this bitch just punched me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, fuck this. And then we started like fighting and stuff. But yeah, I think the only reason is she thought I would go down, and I just didn't because I don't know. I was like, fucking like, fuck this. I'm not trying to lose.
I think like some people too, like they get revved up once that contact happens. Cause even Nick was talking about like when he would fight, he's a slow starter.
Yeah.
So I think Nick had like 5 or 6 amateur matches, and then he was a slow starter. So he was like, it's all good and gravy. He feels it out. And then when somebody starts like, clipping him, and that's when he gets like, oh shit, now it's on. So I think like there's people who fight differently. But it's interesting because like, nobody knows what it's like to fight until you get socked in the face.
Yeah.
It's all theory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like light sparring is all theory because, you're throwing it about like 30%. But then when there's 2 things that happen, right? Which I don't think people understand. It's like, number 1, what it feels like to get rocked when you get hit. Mm-hmm. Feels completely different. And number 2 is how exhausted you get when you're throwing full clip. So that's the part. It's like, you think it's tiring to hit a bag. Try throwing at 100% and missing. That's why these people get tired. They're throwing, and it's when people have great head movement. They're ducking, they're slipping, they're rolling, and these guys are tossing, they're throwing at 100%, and then you see like in boxing, they're exhausted after. So you're like, why is defense so important? Well, those people who throw at 100% and they miss, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's super important for people, whoever watches like UFC or they watch any type of like competitive martial arts. That's actually the reason why I started going back into training. And I hit up Nick, and I just by chance met him, and we decided to train together, and was because I wanted to know the sport a little more, because every time I watched the UFC, I could only understand it up to a certain point, right? It's because I don't know what it's like to be exhausted like that. I don't know what it's like to exchange like that. I don't understand the science behind kickboxing, and I don't understand the science behind like jiu-jitsu and the ground game stuff. So when I started training with Nick, then the sport became more fun, because now I'm like, I could see this. I could see why people... Because before, like, I feel like when I was watching it, sometimes I would get upset at fighters if they're doing certain things. But now that I've been in a training situation, I'm like, oh, now I know why they're fucking up. He's fucking tired.
Yeah.
He's gassed out. You know what I mean? So, like, a great example is, like, I got a buddy named Andre Sukumtat. He's a former UFC fighter. Shout out to Andre. I followed him when he was at a different promotion. And then when he got into the UFC, so he fought this guy named Sean O'Malley. Now, in this fight, Andre was kind of getting lit up a little bit. Andre is a very, very, very fucking tough guy. I don't think he's ever been knocked out ever or TKO'd or anything. Everything went to either decision. He lost or he won. Andre, basically what happens is Sean O'Malley, I think what happened was Andre had a high guard. He did a high kick, and then Sean O'Malley broke either his foot. He broke his foot or his ankle. And then Andre, everybody was freaking out because when Andre was in that match, what was happening was his foot was out. All he had to do was stand up, attack his leg or something, and the ref would have called it off because Sean couldn't stand. And this was like in the last like minute of the round or so. Andre decides to go for a takedown instead, which now it doesn't really matter whether his ankle's hurt or not because the ref's not going to call it off because it's on his back. And so Andre was losing the fight up until that point, but if the ref saw that his foot was broken and Sean couldn't stand on it, they would have called the match and Andre would have got the W. But Andre went for the takedown. He was wrestling, and people were screaming like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why did you take him down?" And so, but because I've been training, I kind of saw him because he was getting hit in the head a lot. He already had tunnel vision. He was like on the verge of blacking out. So whatever his coaches were screaming at him, like, "Yo, like, don't go for the takedown, go for the strikes, go for it." It's like he couldn't hear that shit. He was already just out on his feet. You know what I mean? So when people watch a match like that, and I've read all the comments and stuff that people were saying like, "Yo, that was a dumb move," but it's like if you've never trained, right? Like if you've never been hit in your fucking head, and if you haven't gone 3 rounds with somebody, you don't know what that fighter's going through. I know like when other fighters say that shit, maybe they have a better opinion on it because they said like, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that no matter what." Maybe they do. But from my perspective, I saw a guy who was, the guy got struck in his head a lot. And he was kind of dazed. So I'm pretty sure he couldn't hear anything. And I asked him, and that was the case. He goes, "Dude, at that point, bro," he was like, I was just trying to survive. So he was lighting me up. And I just couldn't hear my coaches. My ears were ringing. I couldn't hear shit. And so that's what's happening. So that's like that perspective of like people who don't train and they have a harsh opinion about a sport that they don't know anything about,
Exactly. That's the thing that I actually hate the most when I'm seeing people as a fan, I guess, watching it and they're screaming and getting angry about the fact they're like, "Why the hell didn't he do this?" Well, it's like, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And it's like, unless you've done it and you really know how it's like, and even if you've done it, it's different in a fight situation.
Yeah.
And on top of that, every fighter's different. Their mentality goes into it differently.
Oh, I think that mentality part is huge. Because there's people who I love in the UFC who there's like I feel like it's a game of inches. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because they're all a part of great camps. They're all great fighters. But there's just something missing in their game that just it's like small things that put them above somebody else.
Yes.
Like one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now, which he was like kind of on a losing streak, he was going up and down, was Kevin Lee. And the reason why I love Kevin Lee is because I think he's like one of the best well-rounded fighters out there. And what I found out through the Joe Rogan podcast was that he actually didn't have a coach since his last coach, I think, passed away. And he was just training himself for all of his matches. So he didn't have a game plan going into the stuff aside from the stuff that he was doing himself. And he was doing pretty decent. And I was like, how come he can't really put these things together? So recently he's training with Faraz Sahabi. He fights Gillespie, who, by the way, hasn't lost at that point. I think he was undefeated at that point. And I haven't really followed him that much, but everybody was hyping it up where it was like, yo, Kevin Lee's going to lose. Kevin Lee fucking knocks him out with a head kick, which is amazing. And people were shocked because people had Kevin Lee losing that fight. But that's just how that small little tweak in somebody's game, him getting a coach like Faraz to really switch up his game and kind of set up a game plan for him and how much it changed him as a fighter, which is crazy because he was losing before and then all of a sudden he has a head coach and his whole game flips up. But everybody was downing him up to that point. And that's why I really believe like fighting is seriously a small game of inches. It's like who is in your corner, who's training you, and who can really like set you up to be a great fighter, you know?
That is so key. Coaches, they are so key. Not only is that, but it's not just the coaches that's in there teaching you day in and day out, but it's also the coaches that's there on site, knowing how to coach you during the fight. Because if they can't speak and say things properly, you're going to lose the fight, no matter how well trained you are, because it's being coached when you're training the skill versus also being coached the day of the fight.
Yeah.
So that's key. Everything around you, your team around you, your mentality and everything, the smallest little things can make such a huge difference. So yeah, I definitely believe in that. And yeah, that's key to everything.
Yeah, when I think one of the things that I had trouble with when I was first starting to do, because I did taekwondo when I was a kid, and I did kickboxing when I was 20, and then what I'm starting to see now, especially what I like in coaches, is a coach that kind of finds what your style is versus them imposing their style on you, right? So they keep saying things like, this is wrong, this is better, but instead of like looking at what the fighter's great at and kind of developing that out of them, I think that kind of sometimes messes people up a lot. And for other fighters too, if people do start like competing and training, I think one of the fun parts of fighting is you finding your own style.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I like to fight? Am I somebody who's a little bit more defensive? Am I somebody who likes to control the ring? Am I somebody who's it depends on your style. Were you a karate base? Are you an in and out fighter? Are you somebody who just likes to sit there and bang it out? Like, it really depends on who you are and how you fight, right? And like that's like the fun part. It's like, well, how what's my style like? You know?
That is, yeah. I mean, that's the thing though. When people, I think that goes for anything. If you're not a good teacher or coach, you're going to end up imposing what you think you know. But the thing is, especially with martial arts where every body type is different, you got to take that into consideration. It's like, I think about jiu-jitsu where some move that I'm taught, it works so well for someone, but it doesn't work well for me, and vice versa. It's like you got this long dude with long limbs like doing this one move versus my short ass trying to do that move. It's not going to be the same. So you really have to look at the body, because even just someone being long or short or thick or thin, that's going to affect everything.
So after your MMA stuff, you got picked up to do WWE because people saw you. So
what happened was when I was training MMA, I got invited to go out to the Tap Out Ranch in Albuquerque. And then I trained for about 2 weeks, a little mini fight camp out at Greg Jackson's. So I went out there and I met this girl that wrote for Fight Magazine. And she interviewed this fighter that was on ONE FC who fought Brandon Vera. And so he added me on Facebook because we have so many mutual friends. And the thing with Albuquerque, it's like really weird because it's so tight knit and small that if one person adds you on as a friend on Facebook, the whole city adds you. Oh, wow. So it's like the whole city. Everyone's just adding me. I'm just like, what the fuck? So this guy added me because of all our friends, and then he didn't say shit to me for like 4 years. Never said anything to me. And I was just like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. Out of nowhere after that, when I had already moved out here to California and was training at Black House, he ends up hitting me up and he goes, hey, I've been watching you train. I think you'd be really good for WWE. If you want to try out, let me know. Because he happened to be friends with the old recruiter that was there. That guy's gone now, but he was friends with him. And so he just, because he saw me training, he was like, oh, she'd be good. And there you go. Like, bam, I ended up getting an opportunity to try out. But my ass didn't know anything about WWE. I thought there was no way I get a chance. So this is my chance. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like my little childhood dream that I thought was never possible is actually coming to life. But I didn't know how to train for it. I was like, I guess I'm gonna be training for it like I would for a fight, but without the striking. So I was training wrestling, just pure wrestling, and also strength and conditioning. And then my strength and conditioning coach one day was like, oh, you got a fight coming up? I'm like, actually, no, I got a tryout. He's like, for what? And I said, WWE. He goes, oh, you know there's a pro wrestling gym down the street, right? And I was like, what? There's pro wrestling gyms? Like, that's a thing? Because I thought that you have to know real, like, shoot wrestling. And then next thing you know, you get hired at WWE and then they teach you their stuff. I didn't know there was actually pro wrestling schools.
It's like a performance art.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I actually didn't even know it was a performance art. I thought it was amateur wrestling.
That's so fucking funny.
I know.
Hilarious. You're fucking hilarious.
I thought it was the same thing. Yeah. Like, I was just like, oh, I just thought it was, in my mind, it's what left off of as what I saw as a kid. So I ended up going to this gym. Turns out to be Brian Kendrick's school, Santino Brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where I trained at for 2 months. 2 months. And I just learned the basics and got through the tryout. And next thing you know, like, in WWE.
That's fucking crazy.
I know.
I mean, first of all, what do your parents think about your career choices?
Oh, God.
That's fucking insane. It's like, you know, like, I don't know if my parents would have been like, oh, yeah, you know, that thing that used to fucking break all of our furniture, that shit that you used to watch that used to fuck up our house. Like, that's what I want you to do for a living. Because I used to fuck shit up in my house because of WWE.
Are you serious?
I used to fuck things up. So I had a cousin. He loved WWE with me. And so we used to watch that shit every fucking Thursday. Thursday night SmackDown. And because I was the one that came out on public television, so I used to watch that shit all the time. And if my friends had their shit on cable, I would watch, whatever fucking, what's it called, like WCW or the other shit. But I used to love fucking The Rock. So that the rock bottom was my shit, and we would pretend like the walls were the fucking the what do you call it, the ropes and shit, bounce each other off. I would rock bottom this motherfucker, bounce off, do the fucking people's elbow, hit him with that shit. One time, there's a couple times I really fucked up. There was one time I was trying to powerbomb this fool into the couch. So I had him under my legs. I flipped him up. And then I was going to powerbomb, but I kind of stepped backwards because, you know, when you have somebody at a powerbomb, they're basically sitting on their dick is in your face, and they're sitting on you like a chair.
And he teabagged you.
And then I backed up, and then I missed the fucking couch, and I slammed straight onto the hardwood floor.
Oh, fuck.
Dude, I felt so fucking bad. All you heard was him go, because all the air fucking went out. And then this other time, I Kurt Angle slammed him into my bed, but then I did it too hard, so I bent my fucking bed frame. My parents got so mad, they beat my fucking ass, and they made me sleep on that curved bed for like 2-3 months. Like, I used to fuck people up with that shit. I love that fucking like hillbilly trash shit, dude. That shit was some hillbilly stuff, dude.
It legit was.
And there was like people who would, you know, have like their own WWE wrestling shit
in their backyards,
and they would fuck each other up. And then at church, we would have these folding chairs that we would set up every time before sermon. But guess what I did after church when we had to fold it up? I would smash that shit behind people's head. I love that shit, dude.
Oh my gosh! Like how did how did you get into that? It was like that.
I think it was just during my time when I was like in the 7th or 8th grade. Everybody was into that shit, and even before that, it was like, you know, Hulk Hogan.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 32.
We're the same age.
Yeah, so I'm 32.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to love that shit when I was a kid. So it was like the hottest thing out there.
Oh yeah, because by then I had kind of started falling out watching it, so that's why I wasn't.
You weren't into that shit at that time. Because when you probably since we're the same age, when you were 12 or 13, which is when you stopped watching.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
when it was like the hottest. So 12, 13, 14 was when it was like the dopest shit ever.
That's when I started, because that's when I stopped watching it.
Did you ever get like seriously injured while you were doing like the WWE?
Yeah.
Because I know a couple of dudes who got really fucked up. There's a guy who trained out in Vegas, and he was he's actually a guy that I met through like the Caesar's Palace, and he works for them. I think he told me his moniker was like the Phoenix. Dopest dude ever. Fucking nicest guy ever. I love this guy. But he actually was, his whole life he wanted to be a pro wrestler, and he was going through the whole training camp and everything, and he was doing like amateur, WWE style wrestling under his moniker, like the Phoenix. He got his spine compressed.
Ooh.
And I think I forgot what the fuck happened, but he fucked up his back where he was lifting somebody up or some shit, and he did it improperly, and his spine just compacted. Pop, 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 pop.
Oh God!
So he was fucked up, because I know a lot of people who get hurt during that shit. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say. I mean, I dislocated my shoulder. It took like
same one.
Yeah, same one.
Fuck.
Yeah, it twice. So I dislocated it when I got thrown, landed on it wrong. And then I got the second time it dislocated again was when I got like thrown, and it just so we were outside of the ring. We were fighting outside of the ring. And then I got thrown into the metal part underneath. Yeah. So then it like hit it so hard it came out again. So I fucked up the shoulder and it put me out for a while. And then I think from this being fucked up, I don't know what caused it, but something happened where it just gave me some type of thing in my back on the same side where it was bothering me for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half, it was so tight and it affected my whole neck. It would be something as simple as me turning my head and I will pull my whole neck like constantly.
Damn.
It hasn't happened recently, so I'm assuming it like healed. But I think that's probably the worst injury, and probably be, probably concussion a little bit, but concussions.
Well, what happened to your fucking knees then? Because your knees are all fucked up. Is that from?
That's from MMA.
God damn it.
Yeah, this popped out during MMA because I was doing Muay Thai, and I pivoted to turn, and my toe got caught in between the mat.
Oh shit!
So my foot was stuck there, and then my whole body turned.
Fucking hate when that. I get freaked out when that happens. If you have really shitty mats, that's what happens.
It was shitty puzzle mats back then.
Yeah. So like, people still have those fucking shit ass puzzle mats, man.
Yeah.
And my toe. So I used to train at this place in Sacramento, and they had those, the red and blue fucking puzzle mats.
That's the type I had. Yeah.
Yeah, the same
that was
shit.
The type.
And then when you would rotate or pivot, or you would even try to move laterally, some of those puzzle shits comes apart.
Yep.
And then your fucking toe gets stuck in that shit.
Yep.
And that's the way you hurt yourself, huh?
Yep. And my whole knee like blew out.
That fucking sucks.
It was like popping. It was falling in and out like so easily. It was so loose. It was falling in and out every day for a year and a half.
Wow.
And never got surgery on it. And I met this Olympic wrestling coach that taught me this PT workout. Mm-hmm. I went crazy, went ham on it for like an hour straight with no rest every single day for almost a month straight and healed it. Never had an issue since.
Wow.
Yeah, so I basically healed his knee even though it was a 3rd-degree tear. I tore my ACL fully. My LCL is probably fully torn. I'm about to get an MRI to get it checked out because I've never actually seen it since it tore back in 2008. So, and I almost didn't get hired by WWE because of it, because they saw it and they're like, you have a fully torn ACL, we can't hire you. Because that's the thing. If you have no ACL or torn ACL, you are not hired.
Yeah.
But because I trained it so hard that I was able to keep it in and I was able to do everything. And I remember I was so pissed. So this is what happened. I was at the time, so I'm friends with Joe Stevenson from UFC. He used to be the fight choreographer for that Nick Jonas TV show, The Kingdom.
Yeah.
So he asked me to be on the show, and he was actually trying to get me to, he told me I was going to be on a season for, it was going to be like a 3-4 months of filming. And at this time, I had already gone to WWE for a tryout, and then I got signed. They told me I was hired. Signed my contract, sent it in 2 days later, and so sent it in 2 days later. I'm on set because so I wasn't actually supposed to start officially until July 2017, but it made me come half a year early in January 2017, and which kind of ruined my chances for the TV show. And so when I told them, I was like, hey, can I come in July because I got this TV show I want to do? And they were like, no, it's either us or them. So I picked WWE and I didn't take it. And instead I just did background work. And when I was there on set, Joe announced to everyone on set and told them, oh yeah, my friend got signed to WWE. And so everyone's here congratulating me. And then that day I'm driving home, I'm driving through Hollywood, and next thing you know, the main dude from WWE calls me and he goes, hey, are you sitting down right now? And I was like, I'm driving, what's up? He goes, you need to park and sit down. I was like, okay. So I parked and he goes, yeah, we can't hire you. You have no ACL. You're high risk. And I was like, what? I was like, I was already going to move out that week. Mm-hmm. I quit all my jobs and signed everything. Like I was ready to move out that week.
Yeah.
And then he tells me I'm not hired after they announced to everyone that I'm about to be like, I'm signed. Yeah. I'm just like, what the fuck? And I was like, what do you mean? Like you saw me through my whole tryout. I can obviously do everything. I had my whole MMA career on it. Like I'm fine. My knee works fine. And he's like, nope, you're high risk. Can't hire you. Sorry. Hung up on me. I was in shock. And I was like so in shock. And literally as soon as we hung up on the phone, this woman's getting robbed. And this guy like steals her purse and starts running. And at the second, I was already pissed. And I was just like, fuck this shit. And I went chasing after the dude with a saw.
A saw? Why did you have a fucking saw?
Because my dad told me, he said, because I used to, okay, so when I first moved out to California, I was homeless for almost half a year.
Damn.
Yeah, I was sleeping out of my car. And I had a sword because I used to have a sword collection. I still have it. I have a sword collection, and I kept a katana in my car, some pocket knives, and in case someone tried to like abduct me, because I almost got abducted when I was out here too.
A trauma from there. Yep. Yeah,
so
I'd be a little scared too.
I almost got abducted for real when I came to California already. Like some guy tried to get me in his van.
Oh my God. Why do people keep on trying to lead you like these dark alleyways and shit?
No.
What is it about you that people keep trying to rape you? My God.
Dude, it happens so much. I had to pull my knife out on someone twice. Like twice. One in Virginia and one when I moved out here.
Where were you at?
I was on La Brea. La Brea.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was on the highway of La Brea, and it was 7 o'clock in the summer, so the sun was still out.
Yeah.
My car was shit, and it broke down on me and started like heating and stuff. The smoke was coming out, so I literally just got out, popped the trunk. Not even 10 seconds later, I turn around. There's 2 dudes behind me. And one guy was like, oh, your car's just overheating. Let it cool off. Pour some water in and you're good to go. And I had just moved here to California. And I was like, oh, everyone here's so nice. Yeah. You know, everyone in Cali is so nice helping me out. And then the dude told the other dude, you good? And that dude's like, yeah. So at first I thought they came together. But then the other guy stayed behind. And I was like, okay. And that guy was like, talking to me, but he had like really poor English, so he was just kind of like saying something about cars, and then he was like blah 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 blah, you want to get in my van? And I was like, no thanks, that's okay. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we'll be talking about something else, and then he'll say it again, you want to get in my van? And I was like, no thank you. And he goes, yeah, you can get in my van and stuff. I'm like, no, that's cool, I gotta head to work and stuff. I'm gonna wait till my car cools down. You're good, but thank you though, I really appreciate it. And then he'll continue talking as if we weren't even on the subject. He'll just start talking about cars, something about cars. And then he said it again, you want to get in my van? And I was like, no. And I started getting annoyed at this point. It was like 4 or 5 times he's asking me. I'm like, no, why am I getting your van? Like, I don't need to get in your van. And then he goes, oh, you know, it's dangerous out here. We're on the side of the road. And I'm like, no, it's not. I got my hazard lights on. We're on the side of the road. We're not in traffic. We're fine. And then all of a sudden he gets in my face like this close and he goes, get in my van. Fucking yelled at me to get in his van. And at this point, you know, I've already dealt with all this shit in Virginia. I've gotten almost raped so many times and almost shot and stabbed.
This is Sunday.
Is normal. You know?
Walk in the park. He's like, you should just told him, you know how many times people have tried to get me in their van? It's never happened. So just move on at this point.
I was like...
He just got mad. He just snapped, huh?
Yeah, he snapped and I got mad. I was like, the first thing I thought was, I can't believe this dude fucking yelled at me.
Yeah.
And this was summertime and I was so broke. I rolled my windows down because I couldn't afford to use AC. So I fucking went around and went in my car, got my phone to call the cops, got the knife in my other hand. I'm dialing 911. Next thing you know, because the windows are down, he reaches his hand in and bends my arm back he bends it back and he didn't see I had a knife in this hand. I'm like, get the fuck off me. Don't fucking touch me. And he goes, whoa. I'm sorry. You can trust me. I'm just trying to help you. I'm like, no, get the fuck off of me.
Dude. That's a tweaker, dude.
Yep. I bet he was on drugs and he was trying to abduct my ass and get him in his fucking,
that was tweaking.
Like, one of those rapist vans. It was legit like our movie, the white sliding door with no window van. Those worker vans. That's what he was trying to get me in.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then he turned back around. I like had my knife over here. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm in California. Am I allowed to stab him? There's all these people driving. Like if I stab him, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't know the laws out here. And I'm just like thinking all these things. And then I told my parents about what happened. And my dad's like, yeah, just get a saw because you can't get in trouble because it's a tool. And that's why I have a saw. That's why you have a saw
in your fucking car. Your dad's hilarious. Your dad completely ignored the fact that you almost got raped. He goes, hey, why don't you get a saw next time? Be a little more careful. You got the stupid little knife. Use a fucking saw. Oh my God. He's like not even hearing about the part where the guy almost raped you.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And no, they actually, I think they're so used to it at this point.
Did they know you were homeless?
No, because...
Of course you wouldn't tell them. I knew you didn't tell them.
Yeah, I didn't tell them. Yeah, because like...
You just came here with no fucking money. And you just decided...
Well, okay. Fuck, it's a long story. So, there's a lot of things that went into it.
Yeah.
I moved away from Virginia because of several things. I was doing MMA out there. Mm-hmm. And I ended up dating this guy that was the all-star of the gym. And he was like a UFC prospect at the time. And, what's fucked up is he was abusive.
Physically abusive?
Physically abusive. I was in an abusive relationship and I was stuck with him. I was stuck on lease with him. So financially I was fucked. Politically I was fucked because my coach told me not to get him locked up in jail. Because he was like the next guy. Yeah.
What's his name? Say his fucking name. Did he even get to the UFC?
Nope. He ended up turning into a stripper.
Tight,
fucking
dude.
Stripper.
This fool's just fucking using his jujitsu on dicks now, huh? Look at that. That's
pretty much. This guy named Mike Wade.
Mike Wade, you fucking bitch. You probably kill me if you met me in person. But you don't live in California, do you?
He's a fucking little bitch. And
bitch. Fuck you, Mike Wade. You can wait on these nuts, bitch. Oh, God. He's probably still really buff because he's a stripper.
He's a fucking stripper. He's doing steroids. He's selling coke. I don't know what the fuck else he's doing, but he's not winning at life at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was fucking abusive. And I tried to fucking leave. And there was just so many ways I was fucked. Financially, I was stuck with him on a lease. And the thing is, the lease wouldn't let me out. I was co-signed with him because his credit sucked and I had awesome 800 credit score, bitch. So they took the average of 600 and that's how we even got the apartment. So we lived together and he ended up having a fucking DUI. So I had to drive him around and shit. And then we're stuck on this damn lease and he wouldn't sign me out. The only way I could get out of the lease is be signed out. Or I would have to pay a $3,500 termination fee, which I didn't have. And my parents didn't know I was living together with someone because my parents were traditional and they're like, you can't
of course
live with anyone until you're married type of thing. So they didn't know any of this and I had to keep a secret. And the next thing you know, I can't get him locked up because of my gym and my career. If I get him locked up and fuck up my coach, that fucks up my career in turn of that. And on top of that, I couldn't get out the lease unless I had a police report. But I'm not allowed to lock him up in jail because I'd be fucked politically and my career-wise. So I was just fucked all the way around. And I was just trying to think of a way out. And I couldn't. And at first, it was crazy. Like, everything went so well for the first 8 months. 8 months. That's a long time to upkeep a fake facade.
Yeah, usually that shit comes out pretty quick.
Nah, this dude, I'm pretty sure he was a fucking sociopath because I talked to people about this because everyone, it was so many things. We had so many mutual friends just because of the MMA circuit. I knew this dude from like a long time ago and I always avoided dating him because honestly, I didn't want to date him. He just fucking claimed me, which I was pissed. But it was whatever. So I already knew him 3 years before we started like dating.
It's a long time.
And I always avoided him because I don't want to date within my industry. And so next thing you know, he is talking to me and stuff. And when we were talking, he was telling me how he was getting his second master's degree and shit like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So he has a brain. He's not some douchebag meathead and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, he seems not too bad. So I was like cool with him. Then one day he came up to Richmond and was like, oh yeah, I'm in town and stuff. Do you want to hang out with me and my cousin? And we hung out and stuff. And then next thing you know, we hooked up and even though it was kind of like, it felt kind of forced at the time. But it ended up being like pretty good. So I was like, all right, well, at least the sex was kind of good. So fuck it. I guess it's cool. So we just kept kind of hooking up for a little bit. And I kind of want to keep a secret. I wanted to keep a secret. I didn't want anyone to know about it because I didn't want to get involved with anyone within MMA. And even though he wasn't in my gym, he was under the same franchise of the gym I was at, even though he lived like 3.5 hours away. Next thing you know, he ends up moving up to my gym. He moves up to my gym and he was at a party with my teammates and on the phone, he just fucking claimed me and told everyone that I was his girlfriend. And I was just like, well, what the fuck? Like, we're supposed to keep this shit a secret. Yeah. And now everyone knows. Well, all right, cool, I guess. And everything was going well at the time. So I thought it was cool and everyone liked him. He was a good liar. Everyone liked him, thought he was a good person. And I thought he was a good person all the way until 6 months after we move in together. We're in together 2 months in. And then one day we get in a fucking argument over something so dumb. We got in arguments over so many things I can't remember. But I think it was one of the times where he got angry at me because my hair was on the floor. You know how people shed? Girls' hair
like
shed.
Yeah.
He got mad because naturally my hair shed in the bathroom floor and he started yelling at me about that. I was like, what the fuck? And stuff. And we got in an argument and next thing you know, he picked me up my neck and threw me. Yeah. And strangled me. And that was the first time I was like in shock. I was like, I'm in an abusive relationship and I didn't know how to get out.
Yeah.
And during this time I was like, and the crazy thing is I was doing well in my career at the time. I was doing well in MMA. And at this time I was already getting a fan base and women would tell me and say they look up to me and how strong of a woman I am. And here I am getting abused. And it just wasn't a good look all the way around.
That made you feel like a fraud?
Yeah, it made me feel like I couldn't talk to anyone. I had to keep everything secret.
Yeah, because you had to keep up that front. Because it's like, well, these people look up to me. And then if you kind of put into this weird situation, you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to because you're supposed to be everybody's role model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no one knew about it. I couldn't tell my friends. I couldn't tell anyone. And the few people I did tell that I was friends with at the gym, like I don't know if they believed me. Only one guy believed me, but also the politics of it was he was the biggest dude. This dude was like 215 pounds of muscle. fucking.
Oh shit, he's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Like even though he could cut down and fight to 170, but he walked around 215. So I was 121 at the time. I'm tiny and he's a pro fighter. Like what the fuck am I going to do to him? Like there's nothing I can do. And so, and all the people, even the ones who did believe me at the gym, wouldn't stand up for me because they were too scared that he would beat them up because he does. He kind of just bullies everyone at the gym and stuff. So they were too scared to piss him off, and everyone's on his fucking dick because like he's supposed to be a next UFC prospect and shit. So everyone's just like all like, oh my God, Mike, you know, like it's some bullshit. So because of that, like people, and it fucking like, it hurt me because I was at this gym for like 5.5 years. I was there way before he was there. And then so quickly I see people's true colors and they jump ship and take his side and say that I'm the crazy one, that I'm the, like, I've done shit. Like I'm so quiet and shy. They think that I'm the fucking crazy one that started shit, but that's because he was so good at putting up this front that he was such a good guy.
Yeah.
So no one believed me, and the ones who did, they wouldn't stick up for me. So I felt stuck in this situation. And at the time, you know, I did love him at the time. And I guess I had abused woman syndrome a little bit when I was there. And I guess I didn't realize the severity of the matter. And it got to a point where one night we were laying on the couch watching Netflix, watching this one documentary called like Who the Fuck Did I Marry on Mystery ID. And one episode was about a husband and wife, and the husband was abusive and the wife tried to leave him and he shot her in the back of the head and killed her. And he turned around and said to me, "That's what I'm gonna do to you if you ever try to leave me." And I took it as a joke. I'm like, funny. Like I didn't take it serious. But then a few months later, like a few months had passed. A few months later, so we're watching another episode. And again, he goes, "That's what I'm going to do to you if you ever leave me."
Oh my God.
And I was just like, yeah. And the thing is, and he said to me in the past before that if I ever get him locked up, his dad would come and kill me. And his dad was locked up for 10 years for assault. And I started getting a little worried. I was like, okay, months has passed. Obviously, you've been thinking about this shit. And then he said it again. So then the third time he said it, he had bought a gun. He bought a gun and kept it loaded in front of us, in front of the living room table where we laid. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this guy's going to kill me for real.
Yeah.
And he said it again the third time, and I got like kind of worried. And I was like, what the hell? Like, why do you keep saying this? At this point, like 8.5 months had passed. And I was like, why do you keep saying this? It's been 8.5 months. This is the third time you said it to me. Like, are you trying to kill me or something? And he's like, oh no, I love you. I would never do that. Blah, 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 blah. And then I thought to myself, dude, he's legit going to kill me. And I had to figure out a way to get out of the situation. So instead, I told him I was going to move all my summer stuff or my winter stuff to my parents' place and move all my summer stuff in. And I was going to switch stuff out. But really, I was packing all my important stuff. And he was helping me move the boxes into my car. I had the doors open on both sides. And I had this giant ass box. I can't see where I'm going. And next thing you know, he's yelling at me. He's like, "Open the fucking doors." And I'm like, the doors are open. And he's like, "Open the fucking doors. I'm going to throw all your shit on the floor." And at the time, I was doing graphic design. That was like kind of my job. And I had my computer in there. That's my work. And I was like, no, my computer is in there. Don't throw it on the ground. If it's too heavy and you can't hold it, put it on top of the car or put it on the ground. Next thing you know, he goes, I'm in the middle of putting the shit in my car. And as I'm putting in, I hear him go, "Nope." And by the time I turn around, he chucks all my shit. He's like 6'1". He's like holding on a pair. He chucks it up and drops all my shit on the ground. And my computer's fucking in there.
This guy's a psychopath.
He's fucking psycho, and I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I just fucking told you. And anytime I even say anything back, he gets physical. He gets in my face, and he goes, "Shut the fuck up, or I will shoot you in the fucking face. And when we go to court, I will just tell the judge that I thought you were an intruder, and that's why I shot you." He said all that shit. And I'm just like, thinking to myself, oh my God, how long did he think about all that? Like, how do you think of that? And then all that shit, like, obviously you've been thinking about that shit. And so I told him, I'm like, I'm leaving. And I put the car in my ignition. He breaks the key out of my ignition, cuts my hand open because he was pulling it out of my hand. And luckily at the time, there was a police officer patrolling that area. He goes, can I help you? Is there a problem here? And I was like, yeah, he won't let me leave. And fucking left, never turned back. Went all the way back home to Charlottesville, Virginia, where my parents were. And I was working at my parents' place for 3.5 months, saving up money to come out to California.
Yeah.
And then from that, people got word that I was moving out here, and he heard that I was moving out here. And so he tried to pull some bullshit to keep me from leaving, because he kept apologizing after and trying to get back together with me, but I kept telling him no. And then 2 weeks before I was going to come out here, he pulled some bullshit and went to the cops and told them that I was the one who attacked him and trying to get me locked up in jail. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I went and spent all the money I had saved up on the lawyer. I went to the police place to buy all the call logs of all the times I called the cops on him and had the cops come and escort me out. And I had to do that because I wasn't going to take a chance on getting locked up. And the reason why that is because one of the times that he picked me up by my neck and strangled me, he held me down and choked me until I almost passed out. And I remember right before I was about to black out, I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm going to die tonight if I don't do anything. And instinctually, I grabbed his face and I pushed it, and my nail cut the side of his nose and it was bleeding. I called the cops on him to get them in. And the stupid ass cop, they're supposed to separate you guys and ask you questions separately. But the bitch ass, dumb ass cop, he asked me, do you want to press charges? Right in front of him. He's standing right there, and he's standing behind a cop, and he goes, well, do you? Like mouthing the words, well, do you? You want to press charges on me? Huh? You want to press charges? And at the moment, I was thinking, fuck everything. Fuck my career. Like, fuck this. I'm going to press charge. I'm going to get him locked up and fuck everything. But then when I saw him, I got intimidated. And I told him no. I was like, no. And then the female cop took him outside and asked him questions separately. Of course, he fucking lied and said, I attacked him. And then she came in and she gave me an attitude, and she goes, he told me that you were the one that attacked him. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't say what the fuck. I was like, what? No, I did not. Like, I'm the one who called you guys. I'm like, he strangled me and I pushed his face away, and that's why I cut him. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, you're not going to see bruises when you get strangled. It shows up hours later.
Yeah.
And so she told me, I was like, what the hell? I'm like, that's not what happened. And then she told me to shut up or else she's going to take me to jail.
Wow.
I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, are you fucking serious? Like, I can't believe I'm getting the tables turned on me because of his lies. And I wasn't going to ruin my whole life and future because of this motherfucker. So I went and I knew at this time already, when the abuse started happening, I knew that our relationship was going to end in court. Yeah. So one of the times another time he took a belt and whipped me for 30 minutes straight. And I secretly recorded it on my phone.
Oh shit. I was gonna say, like, did you ever record any of these interactions? Because like this happened so repetitively. It's like, well, now you gotta fucking re-up on this shit, you know?
Yeah. I recorded the whole thing when he was like whipping me and shit and calling me a fucking dog, and when I went to court, I played that in court, and what sucked was I had to play it in front of my dad, and he heard like everything. Yeah. So like, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So it was like really hard because my parents, like, I had to keep that shit secret, and then it was like my dad had to really hear about all this shit. Yeah. And so after that, I put a restraining order on him, and all the money that I had saved up to go to California, I had like $3,200 at the time. It all went to court fees and lawyers and everything. And after that, I came out to California with $800.
Shit.
Yeah, and when I came out, I had no job, no friends. Like, I didn't know anyone, like nothing. I have no one out here. So I just came out here, and my parents thought everything was fine. And but really, I came out with a shit car. My mom had this BMW. And the thing was, the BMW was a 2001. And you know, BMW have all these electrical problems.
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
So it's like, the car, it looked nice because she kept it nice. It's a silver ass BMW. And so I'm getting harassed everywhere. My car is breaking down, and every fucking time I break down, it happens to be in Compton or Inglewood.
Yeah.
Like, it's in some bull ass shit place, and I'm some shit, like, people are bothering me and stuff. And like $400 here, $400 here, you know, money just went away so quick. Next thing you know, I had nothing. I was sleeping out of my car, and I just had to work random jobs to try and make money because it was so hard to get a fucking job out here.
Yeah.
And so I was just working in random bars, and I was modeling here and there. I used to do like import modeling and whatever. So sell some merchandise here and there and make some random money here and there. And that would keep me going until, you know, I was kind of up on my feet, until finally I worked Uber for a while, and then I worked at this music studio and started getting more money. And then when I started getting more money, I ended up investing all my money in my training. So I still stayed in my car because it wasn't enough to be able to do both, you know. Actually, no, at the time I was investing. Oh, I forgot. I also got scammed, I think.
Man, girl, you're lucky as shit. This is like
Yeah.
the saddest story I've ever heard in my life. You keep on getting fucked over, dude.
Yeah, like I came out here and I decided to quit MMA because I didn't want to run into him because, you know, MMA circle's small.
Yeah.
I didn't want to run into him. And I was so angry with the MMA community because I'm like, everyone like turned my back on me to take sides with this motherfucker. Like, I don't want to deal with this community anymore. And I fucking want to just pursue music because honestly, that was my first love, was pursuing music. Mm-hmm. And so I came out here to pursue music. And then I think I got fucked over by this fake ass producer that was taking tons of money from me. So all my money that I made, I gave it to him to the point where I just couldn't anymore. And then one of my friends, Cub Swanson, he was talking to me.
Oh, how'd you meet Cub?
When I went out to Albuquerque at Greg Jackson's.
Oh, yeah.
So he's always been really cool with me, and he just gave me advice like, you know, you should get back into MMA. And so because of him saying that, I decided to go back and train. And so that's when I joined up with Black House and started, you know, spending all my money in there. And I was sleeping on my car until it got to a point where I got enough money to be able to have a place to stay and go train. And then next thing you know, I ended up signed to WWE after that. But
that's fucking crazy. I mean, that whole experience with like, it's weird because, you know, I think our parents always want us to like reach out and ask for their help. But then like the problem is like, it's not really a problem. It's more of our individual issues that we have because we just don't want them to see our failures, right? Because they kind of invest so much into you, and they kind of, we almost have to lie to them because we don't want them to see all of our imperfections, right? And it makes you feel like you're just disappointed, you know, just because like, I mean, you know, I wasn't born here. I was born in Korea, so I'm an immigrant. So I'm generation zero, right? So, or first gen or whatever. And so when I mean, I don't do it now, but I can see why a lot of people do it, where it's just like, fuck, how hard is it for me to say like, I failed. Like you've invested all this time into me and I fucking failed. And then, you know, when you're in court and you see your father just having to go through that and see his daughter get her ass whooped by this guy, it's like, oh fuck, like, that must have been really frightening for you.
Yeah, and it sucks because like the thing is, it's not like I didn't know I didn't know when it happened, but the thing is, I grew up around an aunt that's been abused. And my parents used to say, don't ever end up like your aunt. If a guy hits you, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I would fucking hit his ass back or I fucking leave him. But the problem was he was an MMA fighter. Yeah. I couldn't hit his ass back. And I couldn't leave.
You should have dated a fucking computer tech geek that hates violence and has never trained a day in his life.
Yeah, that's what I go for now because fuck that shit, you know, like so it was that, and also I'm the only child. Yeah. And my parents, they grew up poor. They came to the U.S. with nothing, worked their asses off. And my dad, dude, he is the oldest guy out of 4 kids. Well, he had 2 older brothers that died, but So technically he was the
Yeah.
oldest, and he had 3 younger sisters he had to take care of. And in the Chinese culture, if you're a male, it's like your job to take care of the whole family. So he came to the US with nothing and worked his ass off and took care of his whole family, his mom, his dad, his 3 sisters. And then he brought them to the US and took care of them. And then one of his sisters tried to fuck him over and steal his money and steal our restaurant and steal our condo and all this fucking shit. And so also my dad was married to a woman before, and like this woman was a gold digging ass bitch that spent all his money, and then her daughter was the same way. And she always takes advantage of my dad, our dad or whatever. And my dad's just like too nice of a person. And he keeps like, I feel so bad because he's done so much nice stuff for people and people just fuck him over. And I felt like it was my job to, you know, give back to my parents because they've done so much for me. They work so hard to try to put me in the best schools, and they try to put me in private schools and shit like that. And even though they couldn't afford it, and I was the poorest person there, and I couldn't go to private school consistently because they wouldn't have enough money every year to send me there. It's like if they had money that year, I went to private school. If I didn't, couldn't go to private school. So I switch around schools a lot, and it just, they of course wanted me to be a lawyer, a doctor. But to be honest, I was never good at academics. And I started English so late, I didn't even understand what the fuck I was learning in school. So it really put me behind. And it affected my academics. I'm not like considered smart in their standards. And the only thing I was really good at was art. And art, you know, it's frowned upon. You're going to be a starving artist. And my parents just didn't want me to do that. And I had to convince them my whole life that I was good at it to let me go to art school. So finally I went to art school in Richmond, Virginia at VCU because they're known for their art program. And I went for graphic design. But unfortunately, when I started doing graphic design when I was 14, it was still the new thing. No one was doing it. By the time I got to college age, this market was oversaturated and no one's making money off of it. And so I'm here like doing all this, and I just felt like I was a disappointment. And I went to school, I felt like I was doing it for them. I wasn't doing it for me. I did it to please them. I wanted to graduate for them. But secretly I was training. Secretly I was doing music. Secretly I was modeling and doing anything art related, acting and all that. So then to just go and not be a lawyer, doctor, and after they spent all that money on my education just to turn around and ask for money, I just couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take anything from them because I already took so much. So of course I never asked for anything from them. And I never liked to ask for money or let them know that I was in need of anything. So I just never told them.
And so like when you were out here, it was like you were struggling, you just couldn't.
I just couldn't say anything.
I don't think I'd be able to ask them for money like that either. I think like I have asked my parents for money before, and that was before I was doing well, you know. That shit was hard. That shit was rough. You know, asking them for money, it was like, fuck, like it kind of fucks you up because I worked at my parents' business too, so I know how hard they work, and I know what it takes to earn that little amount of money that they would get, and then for me to take away from that shit because I wasn't adequate enough to make my own living, made me feel like shit.
Yeah.
So I completely understand how that feels, man. I mean, I think a lot of like Asian kids kind of go through that shit too.
Yeah.
It's a good thing because we have this thing where number one, we can empathize with our parents and their struggles, and then it also makes us try to work harder because we don't want to just take away from our parents. Because at a certain point too, like we want to be able to give back. And that's like the part that I always look forward to. Like recently my dad, he doesn't really ask for much. He doesn't ask for a lot, right? My dad's fucking annoying, by the way, but I love him to death. He's had like a shitty laptop, right? And I've offered him to buy him a laptop a few times here and there, but he's like, I don't need it. Finally, his 2 shitty fucking laptops finally bust, which by the way, they're really crappy. And so my mom asked for him. He's like, hey, can you buy your dad a laptop? I was like, yeah, of course. And when I bought it, it was like whatever. Like I make good money, so I bought him a laptop and I sent it over, and he's super happy. And then I kind of thought about it. I was like, damn, it's kind of cool that I'm in a position now where if they need something, I can get him something that he wants. right? Because before I couldn't do that. I absolutely couldn't. If he needed something, I'd be like, hey man, you're assed out. You know what I mean? Like, I need a lot of shit too. Like, I need electricity and food in my stomach. I don't got that, you know. But you know, it's one of those like good feelings that you have because you know about your parents' struggle, and you know, I think in your situation too, like having your parents warn you about all these things about going into art, and then kind of like having to come into court and see him be in a situation that he warned you about. It's like, fuck, like it's like his, not so much his I told you so moment, but it's like, fuck, like I kind of made his worst nightmares come true.
Exactly. And it's just like, I didn't want to be another burden,
Yeah.
you know? And so I just couldn't ask for anything. I didn't tell them anything. And
you still have a restraining order on that guy?
No, it expired.
Oh,
it
really?
only lasts like, I think it only lasts like 3 years or some shit.
And then you have to re-up on it or something?
Yeah, I
or
got
what?
re-up on it.
What the fuck? It should last forever.
It should last forever, but stupid, you know?
That's fucking crazy, dude.
And his crazy ass contacted me all the way up until 2016. I broke up with his ass end of 2012.
Damn, that's not that long ago.
I know.
So he was like texting you and shit?
He was, dude, I blocked him from everything, and he would make a new account and hit me up. He would find me online.
What's he saying? Like, what was he trying to do?
He was telling me how he was sorry and how much he loved me and how proud he was of me.
Proud, bitch. Everybody says they're proud of you after you become something, dude. You stupid
Exactly,
son
you
of a
stupid
bitch.
Like, don't even try and say that shit.
Yeah.
And just like trying to get back together type of thing, or try and be in my good graces. But I was like, no, bitch. I just ignored it. And I just keep blocking all the accounts he keeps making.
Yeah.
He keeps making every account. I keep having to reblock him. Keep blocking every account. But dude, he's fucking psycho.
That's
like,
crazy. Well, I mean, now that you're done with the WWE and stuff, and it's kind of cool though. I think like the greatest takeaway from this too, and I think like from everything that you set up into this point, is that you're a person of like resilience. It's like when something pushes you here, you push back 10 times harder, which is why you've been able to survive up into this point, right? And I think like the hard part about kind of doing entertainment or what we do is that it's a very difficult fucking route. Like when you pop off, you pop off well. But even then, just because you popped off once doesn't mean you're good for the rest of your life. It doesn't work out that way. That's the really hard reality of entertainment. And so even when I go back home, sometimes people are like, you've made it. I haven't made shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just because I got this one gig and this one job, it doesn't mean that I stop working. I have to continue to work. I don't have steady income.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to
true.
keep trying at this over and over and over again. You know, when I started off this podcast originally too, it was hard for people to see why I switched my channel into a podcast. And what I told people recently, like in my when I started my Patreon, was that people don't know, like, YouTube doesn't make money anymore. Like,
I know, it fucking sucks.
So it's like there's a few people on top that make a lot of money, and those are people who do children's channels. I'm not a children's channel. Like, I don't have
children's channel
because
why?
Because they're very advertiser friendly. So that's the stuff that YouTube and Google pushes up to the top.
Makes sense.
That's the one they put the most ad dollars in. I'm not a fucking children's channel, and I can't be. I can't stop cursing. I can't change who I am, and it's who I have been, and I couldn't do that, so I decided to switch to a podcast format and kind of, work through ad dollars instead, where I garner the ads myself versus waiting for YouTube to give me a fucking ad. And so people couldn't see why I did that, and then I had to make that change, and that's the only reason why the channel's still going. That's why we have this podcast office, but it was hard for people to see, and that's just like that struggle of being an artist. You kind of have to figure out your own way.
Yeah.
YouTube worked for me for about 8 years. And it's like, okay, cool. And then what's the next step? So I had to kind of like look ahead and see what I can do next.
It's so tough because entertainment, it changes with the technology.
Yeah.
So every time it changes, that affects you.
Yeah. Vine, Instagram, TikTok now.
Yeah, TikTok now. It's just like we're in a weird time right now where all these things that were working before is dying. And then TikTok is so new that it's like
popping off.
It's popping off.
And it's backed by like this Chinese company. So it has billions and millions of dollars like back behind it. So it'll be good. So what are you doing now that you're done with the WWE?
So I just got signed to another company, Major League Wrestling. And it's awesome because a lot of like famous wrestlers has gone there, and a lot of WWE people are in there, and ex-WWE people are currently in there and such.
That's
and
dope.
They're back and forth, but I'm injured.
Okay.
I'm injured. So as you know, when we were training yesterday, my other ACL is fully torn, and LCL, MCL.
God damn it.
Yeah. So everything's torn, but the goal right now is to just rehab hard and get back, because the good thing about MLW is I've worked for them before. Like they were the first TV company that I worked for after WWE, and they're a good show and everything, has a good following. And so it's nice to be the first woman signed on their company.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and they're going to push me, and I'm the one who started a women's division. They never had one before. So I'm going to be, building their women's division, but then now I'm injured. So now it's just a matter of getting healthy and getting back into it. But meanwhile, I am still wrestling, but I'm being picky with who I choose because I got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And right now, just merchandise sales, luckily, just all merchandise sales and stuff. And of course, I am also kind of doing stunts here and there because I've always enjoyed all forms of entertainment. Like whether it's acting or music or any type of entertainment and art, I'd be happy doing all of it. So it's just whatever comes, So doing that, got my website up and all that, and basically also doing some music. Doing some music again. But the thing is, I do have vocal nodules. My voice is messed up from all the screaming with wrestling and MMA. But one of my friends, he was actually my photographer. But this guy that goes by Icon, he used to be signed with Grand Hustle Records, but he is a R&B singer. But he ended up getting screwed over by the industry, so he kind of has a bitter taste in his mouth. But now he is working with Kevin McCall. And,
shit.
Yeah, Kevin McCall is his friend.
Dope. Yeah.
But Kevin McCall, there's a falling out in the industry because he had that falling out with Chris Brown and all that.
That sucks too, because like Kevin McCall's like
talented.
Well,
he's talented.
Did. I mean, I don't know if people know, but Kevin McCall did a bunch of like Chris Brown's background vocals, which they don't even fucking know. Like that's like Kevin McCall's voice.
And he wrote a lot of songs.
All of his shit. Yeah. So it's like all the stuff that you love about Chris Brown is because of Kevin McCall. But that's like stuff like if you're really into music, like you would know that shit.
Yeah.
So all that shit that you hear when you hear all these like dope ass harmonies, that's not fucking Chris Brown. That's Kevin McCall doing it. He's doing all the background vocals.
Yeah, he's a good writer, great singer, like everything. So he's trying to make a comeback right now. We're kind of working on this album, and it's more Icon's album.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of both on this album, kind of working on it. So it's just a project. I don't know where it goes, but it's just funny how when I wanted the music connection, it wasn't there for me. But now that I'm in wrestling, they seem to be coming all over the place. And I'm working on my entrance song because I'm back and forth between here and Asia to tour.
Yeah.
And so I wanted an entrance song that was half Chinese, half English. So I wrote the song, and I was trying to find a Mandarin rapper, and next thing you know, this guy named Jason Chu hit me up. He has like 2 songs on the Wu Assassin and Warrior 1 soundtrack.
Okay.
So we're collaborating together. He's going to be the rapper on my song. And so that's my little project that I'm doing.
That's
so
dope.
That, and wrestling is still main focus right now.
Okay. When are you going to start, whenever you're done with your rehab and then you start wrestling, or what's the time span? I'm
going to rehab hard as fuck. And basically, when I get approved by a doctor, I'm going to wrestle. But I mean, I already have shows lined up. I'm being picky about it. But I am going out to China in March again to wrestle out there.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be fun. And I am doing autograph signings. So I'm doing autograph signing this Friday at PCW Ultra. So doing that. And then the week after, I'm doing a little show for my gym because the gym I train out of for pro wrestling and Noki Dojo, they're doing a little house show thing. So I'm doing it as support, since
awesome.
They're letting me train there and all that. So yeah, so I'm basically doing all that, but I'm being picky about what shows to do. I mean, I'm definitely open to take wrestling matches. It just depends on who I work with.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I have to protect his knee because MLW is priority.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. I don't even know how long we were going for.
Dude, we were going for a while.
Shit, almost 2 hours. That's an hour
Damn.
and 40 minutes. Fuck. Well, I mean, we could talk a lot about more shit, but let's wrap this up. Shout out everything so that people can find you.
All right. My Instagram is Zeda, ZEDA_Zhang, ZHANG. TikTok is just Zeda Zhang. Twitter, the Zeda Zhang. And I'm actually gonna, now that I have time and I'm not touring as much anymore overseas, I'm gonna get back on my Twitch, which is the Chopstick Queen.
That's fucking tight. That's fucking tight.
Yeah.
Well, check her out on all that shit. Thank you for sharing your story. That was fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Man, you have been through some fucking
Bullshit.
shit. That's funny. I was telling her the other day about this one little stalker girl.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet you in your mind, you're like, shut the fuck up, dude. I had a guy choke me out in the bathroom because I left hair on the floor. You fucking big bitch. That's why I'm saying never complain to people who have been through more shit than you. I'm over here sounding like a dumbass. I'm telling this whack ass story about how some girl scared me. And she over here got choked out by a guy that has a restraining order on him. Fuck. Well, thanks a lot for that. Anyways, guys, you can catch the Genius Brain podcast on all audio platforms. If you see us on iTunes, give us that 5 stars. If you see us on Spotify, give us a listen. Put them in your playlist, Stitcher, whatever audio platform out there. We are in it. We'll see you all next time. Peace.
Bye.
Perfect. Oh.